So hello everyone, I'm Prabin Poudel and I'm the CEO at truemark Technology. Today we'll be talking about coding standards, and this will be just a theoretical knowledge instead of practical one. I'm just going to talk about what is coding standards and how we can implement coding standards and what tools we can use to implement coding standards and use that in our projects. So let's start with the definition of coding standards. So coding standards is a set of guidelines that is created by companies so that developers can follow those guidelines to maintain consistent code throughout the projects that is inside that company. Some examples of coding standards are guidelines to maintain folder structure, a naming convention for variables, constants, and functions, and length of functions. So why is coding standard important? Um, so the first point is it makes code consistent and easy to maintain. So when there is a guideline, then uh, every developers can follow those guidelines and go through that document. So the code they write will always have to adhere those guidelines. So those code will always be consistent, and when the code is consistent or following certain guidelines, then for even for future developers it is easier to maintain because they can just go through guidelines and see and find what is going on there. So and the point is it is easier to onboard new developers to the project. So when there is a guideline, every there is also a document and rules that every developers need to follow. So when we are onboarding new developers to a project, we can just provide those guidelines and rules to them, and they can start writing code after going through that and being familiar with the guideline that a company follows. Sorry. So another point is it lets developer focus on logical discussions instead of syntax and standards in PRs, pull requests. So when there are guidelines in the company and when the coding standards are being maintained, then in PR we don't have to focus on nitty-gritty stuffs like variable naming and folder structure is maintained or not in each project. Um, for each technology, when there are importance or advantages, there are also downside of them. So let's talk about the downside of uh, the coding standards. So first downside is they don't coding standards don't prevent bugs. So coding standards are just standards and principles or guidelines that one needs to follow to write the consistent code, but it doesn't let you uh, so it doesn't help you in any way in logical part of the code. So there will be a various box in logical part of the code, and that is not that won't be um, find by find by any tools that that coding standards uh, so that won't be find by any coding standard tools because only static codes are analyzed by coding standard tools. So next point is consumes more time in the beginning. So since it is a set of rules and documents that one needs to read for maintaining coding standards, um, it will generally take more time to get comfortable with those standards and write code only after that. And the point is it should be reviewed from time to time because every standards and rules that developers use all over the world will get outdated, and for that company has to maintain at least um, should allocate some time at least once a year to review those guidelines that they have set so that they don't get audited in uh, the long term. So how can we maintain coding standards? So we can maintain coding standards by using some tools. So I have listed down 3 tools that we can use to maintain coding standards in our projects. So first one is static code analyzers, second one is Git hooks, and third one is continuous integration. So let's talk about static code analyzer. Static code analyzer is a tool that analyzes codes and reports problems that are inside the code based on rules configured inside the configuration files provided by the package or tools. Uh, for example, Rubocop and Yastin provides a configuration file where we can add various rules there to maintain coding standards and best practices in a particular project. So tools we are using at truemark are we are using Rubocop for Ruby and Yastin for JS, and all the slides that are coming will be focused on either Rubocop or React.js, but mainly Rubocop. Sorry, ESLint and Rubocop. So let's move on to GitHooks, which is the second tool that we can use to maintain coding standards. So the Git hooks are scripts that run automatically when a particular event occurs in a Git repository. Some examples of Git hooks are pre-commit hook, post-commit hook, and post-checkout hook. Normally, we use only pre-commit hooks for coding standard, for maintaining coding standard, and um, trigger a command. For example, run Rubocop after before committing the message, before committing the Git, before committing the changes that you have made in the Git. Um, so why should we use pre-commit hooks? So pre-commit hooks helps us in enforcing coding standards with packages like Rubocop and ESLint. It checks the commit messages and verify if they meet standards set by the guidelines in the company. So there are two things that we can do with um, pre-commit hooks. We can first run um, static code analyzers like Rubocop and ESLint, and they will report errors if there are any issues with changes that we have made in that particular commit. And another one is if uh, we can use pre-commit hook to check the commit messages to see that if they are up to standards. Like for example, um, we have this standard in our company where we have to um, mention each commit message with a Trello card link and then a list of tasks that we did in that particular commit. So as you can see in the screenshot, there is a Trello card, a link, and there is a list of tasks that we have added in that particular commit. So pre-commit hooks are just a set of script, but to manage those scripts, uh, we use Git hook managers like overcommit in Ruby. So in Rails we are using overcommit gem, and that provides us configuration file and where we can add set of commands like run the Rubocop run the Rubocop uh, before committing the code. So this is in this screenshot you can see that pre-commit hook for Rubocop is being run, and then it's throwing error in one of the file that that there is a trailing white space, and this fails the git commit. And after you fix this file and commit again, then only git commit will pass. So in React.js, we use Husky for managing git hooks, And in screenshot you can see that it's reporting error of indentation issue and double quote not being used in strings. So it's also same as overcommit but for JS. So pre-commit hooks can be used to enforce based coding practices in local environment, but it is easier to bypass it in bypass coding standards or those tools since it is configured locally. So how can we ensure that all those best coding practices that we have um, configured can is followed by every developers? And the answer is continuous integration. So continuous integration is always run on Git repository that is in remote, and it is used to check coding standards and run tests before merging any changes to the target branch. So coding standards can be enforced using CI if they are bypassed by developers locally by disabling pre-commit hooks. Um, Also, tests are also run in CI because in local it takes and each test suite can take a lot of time and it kills developers' productivity, and that's why we run tests in CI normally. And for posting comments of issues uh, that are thrown by Robocop, we can use gems like Pronto for Rails and RubyDoc for React.js. So in the example here, screenshot here, you can see that Pronto is posting messages of coding standard violation. There is a violation of trailing white space and it is being posted as a comment so that the developer who has created the merge request can review this and then fix this and push again. So this lets us to maintain consistent code and best coding standards in the project. So this is so another one is for review dog. I have posted a screenshot here, and it's showing that it's posting the violation that is made by the um, code, and it's being posted as a comment. So that was just the overview of the coding standard and tools we can use to enforce coding standards. And I have listed out uh, some links here, and most of them are link to my blogs that I have written to configure all these tools. So you can try it in your time and just let me know if you face any issue. So that's it. If you have any question, please